When you take a sip of hard cider made by the Esoterra Cidery in Dolores, you're taking a taste of land, history, and passion. You're watching the Local News Network, brought to you by Kazim Motors in Cortez and Tafoya Barrett and Associates in Durango. I'm Wendy Graham-Settle. Montezuma County residents Jared Scott and Elizabeth Philbrick have a passion for apples, especially those growing on feral trees. And Montezuma County has plenty. Once home to a thriving orchard economy that was known as the fruit basket of Colorado, Montezuma County produced several hundred varieties of apples in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Although unintended, many of those old orchards continue to produce rare varieties that Scott and Philbrick now turn into unique and flavorful hard ciders at Esoterra Cidery in Dolores. Esoterra means that land in Spanish, and it was the landscape of rotting, unused apples that inspired Scott to make cider.
That's what's so unique about this place and this fruit, is that you have all these different eras of apples varieties being planted, and which again, it is a time stamp, but it's some of those varietals from the late 1800s, they were used for eating, they were used to go to market, but they were also used to make booze.
Scott hunts for unique apple varieties in Montezuma County's heritage orchards, and particularly seeks out wild trees that represent the marriage of several trees that offer one kind of fruit.
One of the really unique opportunities we have in this region is that there are thousands of trees all over the place. And like Jared had previously said, less than 10% of those trees go to market in any shape, way, or form. So what we have is the opportunity to run around and try all of these different apples, some of them without names at all, literally are being tagged just with numbers and locations, because genetically, apples are 99.9% different from the tree they came off of. So, or I mean, the apple seeds are 99.9% genetically different from the apple they came out of. So if an apple tree becomes feral, it truly is genetically unique. So we have the possibility of running around and finding these apples that have never been used for any particular reason before, and blending particularly unique vintages for our cider.
I like to think the apple varieties are very similar to people in terms of like how people look. Like a seedling off a Red Delicious, okay? So you see that planted all over, especially in the Lebanon area. You know it comes from a Red Delicious because the fruit will look like a Red Delicious. It'll resemble a Red Delicious. When you bite into it, it may have the same like crispness as a Red Delicious does. It may even have a similar taste or flavor as a Red Delicious, but in the same way like that children look slightly different than their parents, that's kind of what you see when you see these offspring feral apples that happen. They resemble their parents, but they're not quite identical to their parents.
Yeah.
But we have this diversity in the same way we have diversity of humans in terms of how people look. We have a diversity of apples growing in these two counties here, especially when it comes to those feral apples.
No two ciders are alike. One cider may be tart, another sweet, another dry, depending on the apples that Scott uses in each batch. And none can be replaced from year to year. Like wine grapes, each apple crop is affected by the season's weather, the heat, the amount of snow or rain that falls, even the tree's production capacity. Though each batch is unique in its subtleties, Scott and Philbrick say that each glass holds a taste of Southwest Colorado's sun, land, and orchard heritage.
We like pure, simple foods at the peak of their freshness, right? And so you want the same with your drinks. The nice thing about our ciders is they do age well. They get better with time, like a good wine. But also when you first open that glass and it really smells like fresh fruit, that's really nice to come out of a bottle at any time of the year, middle of winter, and you open it up and you get fresh apricots. Oh.
Last year, the two decided to turn their passion into their own cider company and opened a production warehouse in the old Mountain Sun Apple Juice Factory in Dolores. A tasting room opened this fall. The cider selections change as new batches finish fermenting. And you can enjoy your socially distanced sips on the outdoor patio, where you can also order food to accompany your drinks. Esoterra sells selected ciders to go, either by the pint or quart, and non-alcoholic sparkling apple cider is available for kids and designated drivers. If you'd like to sip some Southwest Colorado ciders, visit esoterracider.com for tasting room hours. Thanks for watching this edition of the Local News Network. And be sure to listen to our stories anytime, anywhere on your favorite podcast app. I'm Wendy Graham Settle.